Hey everyone, Sketch Card Hive here. I was just working on this little display over here, which is not going super well. Still really bare, but I'm excited to kind of rearrange and do all this stuff. Just to address the elephant in the room, yes, I've not been around for a while. Uh, Life, I guess, is the excuse, not so sure. So, also, if you haven't been in this channel before, I'm Sketch Card Hive. I'm a co-host on the Marvel Card Collectors podcast. I've been in the hobby for a very long time now, not as long as many others, but still very long. And I'm primarily a Silver Surfer and Mandalorian collector for Marvel and Star Wars. Yes, I have a type. And today's episode, I want to talk about Marvel cards are not sports cards. Now you can substitute Marvel and Star Wars, so I'm gonna leave it kind of open. But what I'm primarily hoping to do in this video is talk about and to challenge a few people to think about how they're collecting Marvel cards. You can collect any which way you want, think about any which way you want, it does not matter. These are cards, they're meant to be fun. The only reason I'm addressing this is because a lot of people are thinking about Marvel cards as an investment, treating it as a portfolio, treating it as an asset, which I do believe it is. And I know a lot of people don't. It's a hobby, it's cards. I understand, but I do think that these collectibles are significant, and I view myself somewhat as well, this got really corny really quick. Not a historian at all, because it's Marvel cards, but I do think there's something significant. You know, the artists, the artistry, right? The design of these cards. I mean, I've interviewed so many people over the years, you know, people from Upper Deck, people from Fleer, Skybox, great people, artists who've made some of the most iconic Marvel cards in our hobby. And there is stories here, and it is a form of documentation. So I treat my channel like a vlog, if that helps wrap this up a little bit. So I just wanted to share some thoughts on Marvel cards and how people can view collecting them and what I've noticed over the past year. First and foremost, Marvel cards do have inserts and card types that very much parallel sports cards. Truth of the matter is, when they invented Marvel cards, which you could see those interviews on the Marvel Card Collectors podcast, where we spoke to Bob Budiansky, who was the creative director and the one of the main people to come up with the 1990 Marvel Universe set, which is pretty cool. And he was saying that they were like, well, we're doing a trading card set. Let's look at trading cards. And, you know, of course, the example they had is sports cards. My belief is that Marvel and Star Wars will eventually evolve to the point where they are no longer treated as sports cards or TCG when you're looking at overpower versus system, or, you know, non-sport. They're going to be seen as their own entity. And the reason I believe that is because the IPs are so strong and so ingrained in our mythos, ingrained in our culture, that I see these characters as characters that will be around for a long time. So when we're thinking about Marvel cards, or Star Wars in this case, we should really be identifying some bigger issues here, not just the ones that are related to sports. Like, questions I usually get is like, where are the rookies? How can I find the rookie cards? What's the first Spider-Man card? Do people consider it the 1966, the 1990, the 1987? Comic images, what do people consider to be the big first Spider-Man card? I think the better question would be, what's a significant Marvel card? What does Marvel translate in terms of inserts? Comic cuts, pack-pulled autographs by the creators of these characters, right? Now, again, I'm not trying to answer these questions. I'm trying to challenge people's way of thinking on their choices of collecting Marvel cards, because a lot of friends, and I call them friends, who've come into this hobby recently, looked at it from the sports world perspective, and right now I'm having really interesting conversations where they're like, well, yes, this works to have a jambalaya because it's big to sports collectors and it's money, because that language is so apparent to those collectors because that's what they know, and that's awesome, right? It's great for the hobby to have things cost money and to help people with their collections, or, to move up their PCs or to evolve their own collections and curate them at different levels, the things they want to do at the end of the day. But I think when people start really managing their Marvel card collections or Star Wars collections, they want to take a step back and be like, okay, what's significant? And the first thing on this little vlog entry is going to be know the source. If you have a favorite character or a favorite set or a favorite group of characters, X-Men, the Spider-Man universe, whatever you want to be into, understand its historical significance. And that's how you'll choose what to collect, right? You'll be like, well, I know this character's first appearance was in this comic book. I wonder if there's any comic cuts of that character in that comic book. In card form, pack pooled, hard numbered. It's pretty amazing when you start breaking things down in that way. Or you look at a creator's autograph or sketch card, or if you are looking at a numbered card, and if that card is celebrating something specifically, right, in that numbered variant, maybe that's why you go into it. Know the source material. I think Marvel cards are going to evolve in a way where people are going to be pairing Marvel cards to comic books, pairing those cards to original art, pairing those cards to, their whole library of collections, because they love Marvel cards. And same thing goes for Star Wars. When you're following a character or a character universe, yes, you might have like a C or B level character, but that character is significant in some plot of that story. Hey, why wouldn't I want that in my collection? That is a big way that Marvel card collectors collect differently, at least ones that have been around for a while. They're also completionists, which I've mentioned in videos a lot, but they are, right? And I think as more modern sets come out, being a completionist is going to have to take a back seat, or it's going to have to evolve. And people are going to have to think about, okay, I want to be a completionist, but I want to be a completionist for this type of insert, right? For instance, for Mandalorian, I chose to only collect the black card from Masterwork, right? Which is out of 5. Instead of going for the full rainbow, I'm just going to hunt down the this particular insert from every year, and then I'll have all the blacks, one black for every year. It's pretty fun. You can do it for purple, there's tons of these color variants coming out now. So why not have this collection fit this bigger picture, right? Why not have your collection evolve as the hobby evolves and grows? The other thing I want to talk about, and you keep me on row list. I'm a list guy. I don't know if you guys know that about me, but I'm a list guy. The other thing I would say about this, to start wrapping it up and to kind of address the big change in the hobby, which is graded cards. Graded cards are more part of the card culture than they are of the sports culture. And I think it is not necessary to grade your cards, ever. It is just simply a service that allows people to upgrade their collections and to insert value onto cards that might have been overproduced, because then a card that was produced, let's say 30,000 times, which is never that high, maybe it could be, you could have maybe like 100 that are Gem 10 or something more like whatever it is. That can kind of imply rarity and give you that value in your collection. That's the only time you should go into grading cards, when you're at that level of a collector. But if you're there to enjoy the card, there's no reason you need that much degree of separation in that plastic holder to not collect a card. So getting back to Marvel cards being their own thing, Star Wars cards being their own things, I see the future being that collectors will start treating these cards with some basis of knowledge, some base of understanding, hey, this character is important, this artist is important, this historically means something, this does something for nostalgia for my childhood. And that's why collections will build, and investments as well, and all this other kind of stuff. If you're hunting for something, hunt for something with significance and meaning, and you'll see why certain prices are hitting cards in certain ways, rather than cards just having a hard number of 10 and you're like, well, I've seen that art in other places, why is that card that price? Again, I'm not insulting anyone's collection. I am simply stating these observations in order to get collectors to start thinking about this hobby in a way that will allow us to evolve from just being about, oh, hey, here's an insert that's an insert from sports cards. It's worth a lot of money now. That way collectors don't have to feel so frustrated or feel like they can't find the cards they want. Because again, a healthy market really stems from knowledge. And I know people are out there thinking, why is he mentioning words like market and investment? Again, that's not the hobby for me. I've been here for long enough that people know that's not my thing, I hope. But I do think it's good to acknowledge and involve with the hobby. Anyway, enough of me blabbering on. I just wanted to do a quick little video about Marvel cards and how they should be their own thing. Not a copy of something, not an influence of something else. They should be their own thing, they should be their own category. And I believe Star Wars is very similar to that. Again, I'm sure other hobbies are the same way, so do your research, join a community, make friends, learn the hobby from the inside out. That way you can make decisions and make collections based off friendships and a community and understanding of the history of the cards, right? Again, at the end of the day, this is a hobby. A lot of people throw this into the category of market and investment and assets, and I talk about those things, but this is a hobby. This is about collecting something that is important to a lot of people. And in that way, you can create community. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully I said something worth listening to and worth the knowledge that I put out there. I'm gonna go back to fixing this mess up and put more silver cool things in here. And I will get back to you guys soon enough with another fun video. I got some other topics that I'm writing about, and I'm excited to be back. Later, everybody.